Hi, my name is Muaz, and in this video we will be creating a VPN connection between our on-prem data center and AWS. So we are over here and we will be creating a VPN tunnel from our firewall through the internet all the way to AWS, so our VPC in AWS. So the VPN tunnel will be initiated from our firewall and it will go through the internet to our VGW. So the red dotted line shows you the VPN tunnel and the blue line shows the flow of traffic. So to get started, we're going to log into the AWS Management Console and head over to VPC. Click Create VPC and select the VPC with public and private subnets and hardware VPN access. And I'm going to give a top level CIDR block of 172.20.0.0/16, and I'm also going to give it a VPC name and a public subnet CIDR block and a private subnet CIDR block. So I went ahead and gave the public subnet CIDR block and the private subnet CIDR block and also the VPC name. I'm going to click next, and over here it's going to ask you for the customer gateway IP. So this is going to be the IP address of your VPN router or your VPN terminating device. So for us, if we look at the diagram, that's going to be our firewall. So I'm going to quickly connect to my firewall and check its IP address. So I've connected to my firewall and here is my public IP address. This is the public IP address of my firewall. I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and give a customer gateway name and a VPN connection name. For routing type, choose static, and I'm going to give the IP prefix. I'm going to give the private subnet of my data center. So that's going to be 192.168.3.0/24, and I'm going to click Create VPC. It's going to take a few minutes. So once your VPC has successfully been created, you can go ahead and see that a customer gateway has also been created. So let me just reload this. And you can see a customer gateway has been created and a VGW and also a VPN connection has been created. So let me get rid of the filter. And as you can see here, a VPN connection has been created. And 2 tunnels have also been created. So now we're going to download the configuration, and this is going to be the configuration that you need to implement on your VPN terminating device. So it's going to be our firewall. You're going to have to choose your vendor, your platform, and software. So we have a Cisco ASA firewall. So I'm going to be choosing Cisco Systems ASA 500 series, and I'm going to download the configuration. So what you're going to have to do now is take this configuration and implement it on your VPN terminating device to configure it to create a VPN tunnel, to initiate the VPN tunnel between your VPN terminating device and the VGW. So I have opened the configuration file. So the configuration file has a lot of information in it. So I'm going to take out the parts that we need, so the configuration, and I'm going to paste it in a notepad and make the necessary edits, and I'll show it to you right after. So I went ahead and took out the parts of the configuration file that we needed and pasted them in this notepad, and I made the necessary edits. So if you need any help understanding any of these parts, you can talk to your instructor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to implement this configuration on our firewall. So I'm going to be taking this and pasting it into my firewall. Before I implement this configuration, I'm going to connect to my firewall and show you that no tunnels are up. So I'm going to quickly connect to my firewall. So as you can see here, I've checked the status of the tunnels and that there is no tunnel that is up. I can also show you from the AWS side, from the AWS Management Console, that no tunnels are up. So if I go to tunnel details, both of the tunnels are down. So once I implement this configuration, the firewall will initiate the VPN tunnel between our on-prem data center and AWS, and you will see that one tunnel will go up. So I'm going to go ahead and paste all the configuration. So I went ahead and pasted all the configuration in my firewall, And so I have configured my firewall to create the VPN connection, and I check the status of the tunnel, and as you can see, this active status shows that one tunnel is up. And if I go back to the AWS management console and reload this page, one tunnel should now be up. And as you can see in tunnel details, one tunnel is up. And in the documentation, it mentions when it comes to the Cisco ASA firewall, only one tunnel will be up at a time. And you can see that in the configuration documentation at the top. Over here, it mentions only a single tunnel will be up at a time to the VGW. So now that our VPN tunnels are up, our one VPN tunnel is up, we're going to go to route tables and make sure that the right route tables are associated with our subnets. So this route table should be associated with the public subnet as it is. So I'm going to rename this the public subnet routing table. And we're going to create a new route table for the private subnet. So we're going to name it the private subnet routing table, and make sure that you associate with the right VPC, and yes, create. So right now there is no routing table that is explicitly associated with the private subnet, so we're going to associate this new routing table with the private subnet. So choose the private subnet and click save. And if you go to the public subnet routing table, you can see in the routes that any traffic that is destined to any traffic that is destined to an unknown destination, or the default route says that it should be targeted towards the internet gateway. For the private subnet, we're going to give a route that says that anything destined for our data center's private subnet should be targeted towards the VGW. So our private subnet of our data center is 192.168.3.0/24, and that's going to be targeted towards the VGW. I'm going to save that. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be launching a Linux instance in the private subnet of our VPC, and we're going to ping that instance from our computer. So we're going to try to reach that instance through the VPN tunnel. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly launch a Linux instance. You already know how to do that, so I'm going to launch and connect to a Linux instance. So I have launched a Linux instance, and we already know how to launch a Linux instance. So I'm going to go ahead and ping the Linux instance using its private IP address. It has no public IP address as it's in the private subnet of our VPC. So I'm going to copy the private IP address, and as you can see here, my IP address of my computer is 192.168.3.151, which is in the private subnet of my data center. So I'm going to ping the Linux instance using my private IP address, and I'm going to ping the instance using its private IP address. So I'm going to ping the instance, and as you can see, we can reach the instance. Now I'm going to go ahead and also connect to the instance using PuTTY, and we already know how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the converted key. So I went ahead and connected to my EC2 instance, and as you can see that we connected to it using its private IP address, which is 172.20.2.98, and we were successfully able to connect to it through the VPN tunnel, and we can go back and see the status of our VPN tunnels. So if I go to VPC and I go to VPN, our one tunnel is up. So we have successfully created a VPN tunnel from our on-prem data center to AWS. And that's it for this exercise. Thank you for listening.